Namaskar and good morning. थोड़ा सा इश्यू आ रहा है लाइव स्ट्रीमिंग में. Namaskar and good morning. I welcome you all on another episode of India-Ireland Friendship Lecture Series, and I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Manjiri Prabhu, an award-winning international author and short filmmaker. Her genre is mystery fiction, and for that she has been hailed as the Desi Agatha Christie and is acknowledged as being the first woman writer of mystery fiction in India. And much recently, she has also been acknowledged to be a match for Dan Brown by Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Dr. Manjari holds a doctorate in communication science. She has directed over 200 children's TV programs, more than 50 short fictions, many travel films, and has authored 19 books. Her unpublished psychological thriller novel was adapted into a Hindi feature film by National Film Development Corporation titled Kuch Dil Ne Kaha. Her thesis, converted into a book, Rose, Real and Real, has become a rare reference book for students of Hindi cinema. She has been invited to reputed international literature festivals like Bhusharcon, Cheltenham, Life Fest, the International Agatha Christie Festival UK, and International Women Fiction Festival Matera in Italy. Her novels, The Cosmic Clues, was selected as a killer book by Independent Mystery Bookseller of America, and The Astral Alibi was honored as a notable book in the Kiriyama Prize. She is also the founder director of two book festivals, the Pune International Literary Festival, which has brought Pune city on the international map of literature and art festivals. And recently, she has also founded the International Festival of Spiritual India with a focus on humanity and wisdom. This unique free festival aims at helping people find a direction in life by supplying the attendees with tools, guidance, and purpose. She has also many awards to her credit. To mention a few, Global Women Leader by the 10th World Women Leadership Congress Award, Excellence in Service by Humanity from the Rotary Club in Pune in 2022, Inspirational Women of Maharashtra, Excellence in the Field of Writing in 2017, and Most Admired Leader of Maharashtra by ERTC Global Herald in 2017. With bated breath, we are waiting to hear her thoughts on the topic Destination Thrillers, Converse Cultural Diplomacy. Before we invite Dr. Manjari to present her talk, I would request His Excellency, the Ambassador of India, to kindly give his introductory remarks.
Namaskar. Thanks, Ebaji. My warm greetings to Manjiri Prabhu ji and also all other friends who are connected with this program from Ireland and India. We are very delighted to welcome someone like Manjiri Prabhu ji because she has a very distinct niche in Indian literary contemporary world. I had great privilege of meeting you, Manjiri ji, when I was Director General of ICCR. And
Yes.
since then, I have been very keenly following your literary activities. You are truly an inspiring person. And also your multi-dimensional creativity, your knowledge, your sensitivity, your leadership is truly remarkable. And as a women icon, I think it's a great privilege for us to welcome you on this platform of India-Ireland Friendship Lecture Series. I have been in Ireland for about 1.5 years, and I see there are a lot of opportunities which are untapped in the people-to-people connect. On the business front, on the education front, on the technology front, there's a very robust engagement already. But one area which has, in fact, been the most important element of India-Ireland partnership was in the domain of ideas, and particularly in the domain of literature. I'm sure you know about the friendship between W.B. Yeats and Rabindranath Tagore.
Yes.
Rabindranath Tagore's Gitanjali had an introduction written by W.B. Yeats.
Yes.
And that helped a lot in the wider readership of Gitanjali. So Ireland is a powerhouse in literature. With a population of just 5 million people, Ireland has produced 4 Nobel laureates in literature.
Yes.
So while there is a awareness about leading Indian poets in Ireland and also the Nobel laureates of Ireland in Indian literary circles, there is not much actual connect between the contemporary literary circles of India and Ireland. And that is why we have thought of India-Ireland Friendship Lecture Series as a virtual hybrid mode platform to connect Indian and Irish thinkers, intellectuals, artists, and thought leaders in different sectors. And literature, I really hope that would be a very useful connect. We have had a couple of poetry events, even virtual, between Indian and Irish poets. With your inspiring vision and your skills, I'm really hoping that in the genre of fiction and also in prose, we can have some, at least to begin with, a virtual connect between India and Ireland. And I'll be very happy to welcome you in Ireland. Maybe we can, I'm exploring opportunities for you to come for some kind of residency programs or interact with Irish counterparts somehow.
Yes.
With these words, very warm welcome again, and thank you so much for sparing time to share your thoughts with us. I know how busy you are and how multidimensional your activities are. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akhilesh ji. Thank you, Hema ji. Akhilesh ji, you have no idea what a privilege and a pleasure it is to be here today. I mean, you have 3 decades of amazing work in Indian diplomacy and cultural and soft power engagements. So who better than you would understand what I'm trying to do here, with my destination thrillers and literature. So really privileged and honored to be here. Thank you so much. So, well, I'm going to begin now, and we will have a bit of interactions with the PPT that I want to show, and there's a teaser also that I want to show. So first I want to say hello everyone, and hello Ireland, and hello India. So well, I know there's a long bio which was read just now, but honestly, I just want to say one thing, that I have always been a writer, Akhilesh ji. I think sometimes that I was born to be a writer. I always say this, like, it's not like I'm a writer by chance or a writer by accident, or I've done everything in life and abhi main writing karungi. It's not like that. I just feel that I was born to be a writer. And so, I think that kind of sums me up completely. I think I exist because I write. And that is why today it's really very, very special that you've invited me to talk about my books and the destination thrillers. Really, thank you very much. I feel very privileged. So, well, we are talking about destination thrillers as as bridges between 2 countries. But way back in 2004, actually, and even before that, I have written a lot about India too. Where my destinations have been India, and I've written various works where the Indian culture is a part of that destination, of that thriller too. So I'd just like Hemaji to show the slide 1, which is where I talk about my first astro detective series.
Mm.
So we all know we are all astrology lovers, but Indian Vedic astrology is a big science. And so in about 2004, I wrote a book called The Cosmic Clues. No, slide 1. This is before this. Slide 1 and 2. Okay, this is fine. Next slide. So these are all my thrillers. Next slide. Yeah, that's right. So the Astro Detective series, where this lady detective from Pune called Sonia Samath solves cases with actual horoscopes. And it's all about Pune and how astrology is used, not like a magic wand, but like a proper, I think you may have read the books because I remember giving them to you, but where Sonia actually uses science and calculations and mathematics to find out who the killer is or who the criminal is. So this was like way back. And after that, I, of course, went on to write other books and all, but this is basically where India-centric books began. And these books were published by Random House USA. So I did try to project India in a very modern light, but at the same time, rooted in our country and rooted in our tradition and culture. Okay, the next slide. Right. So, well, before I begin talking about Ray Parker, I want to say that, you know, when I talk about Converse Cultural Diplomacy, what do I mean by that? So, you know, everyone represents their country when they talk about, you know, they talk about literature, they talk about films, they go to any other country and they represent their country. So that is cultural diplomacy. But when somebody talks about somebody else's country, some other country, which is not their own, I call that converse cultural diplomacy. So when an author writes novels based in another country, she's actually trying to represent their country in a converse manner. So that is why I call these destination thrillers converse cultural diplomats, because what I do is I go to other countries and I try to take some part of their culture, some part of their history, and try to bind it all in a thrilling, exciting, but inspiring manner so that people would want to go and be a part of that culture. So that is what I'm trying to do. So that is why I call my books Converse Cultural Diplomats. And I began the series in 2017 with the Ray Parker Destination Thriller series. So let me first introduce, since the slide is on, let me introduce Detective Ray Parker, who is an investigative journalist and a filmmaker, but he plays the flute. And most importantly, you know, his name is Ray, which means it's Ray as the second musical note in Sa Re Ga Ma Pa, but also the second note in Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti Do. So Ray is a very universal character, and he's got an Indian musical father and a French mother. And so, but he goes to different, you know, parts of Europe or wherever the novel takes him, and he solves mysteries in 48 hours in that area. So he wears a 5-metal Ganesha around his neck. So the only Indian references that I've kept for Ray are that he plays the flute, he wears a Ganesha, he's spiritual, and he gets psychic visions of a place that he has visited before, and then he knows that that place is in trouble, and that's why he goes there to solve the mystery. And he works with energies. So for example, if somebody is standing in front of him, he can make out, he gets these visions, he gets the feel of the energy, he can understand the aura a bit. And that's why he works with energies, along with, of course, the normal deductive methods. So that's basically Ray Parker. Yeah, the next slide, please. So, you know, in 2017, I began Destination Thrillers. So normally you do see Yash Chopra's songs take place on the backdrop of Switzerland. And, you know, and Hindi films, you take you all over the world with beautiful landscapes. But I felt that these locations were not only backdrops. They have their own culture, their own lifestyle, their food, their language. And I felt that some kind of representation, detailed representation, was necessary in novels, which is why I started the Destination Thrillers. So in 2017, the first book takes place in Salzburg, in Schloss Leopoldskron, Austria. Now, Schloss Leopoldskron is the palace where the film Sound of Music, we all know the Sound of Music, you know, it's a very old, famous film, was filmed. And the palace is known by that film. But there is a history to that Schloss. It was built by Archbishop Leopold Firmian, and way back 300 years ago. And he loved the palace so much that when he died, his heart was buried in the chapel, his body was buried in the old town. And I felt that was such a premise for a thriller. You see, so when Ray Parker goes there, the heart is stolen from the chapel, and there's a message left by, left by some unknown person to find the last gift to the palace, or the 4 pillars of Salzburg will be destroyed. And that is how Ray sets off on a 48-hour journey to solve the Trail of 4. So that's the first book in 2017. The next slide, please. The next book takes place in Sweden, Lund. So Lund University was celebrating 350 years, like the oldest. We all know, Nobel Prize winners are felicitated there. There's so many Nobel Prize winners there, and Stockholm is, the birthplace of Nobel Prize. And Lund University has a very important role in this whole academic aura of that country. And I thought that it was very important to base a novel there, because there's another aspect to Lund, and which is the rune stones. So runology is a very important part of this place, where rune stones are actually kind of gravestones, but also kind of memory stones with rune language, which is a Germanic language, written on it. And so when Ray Parker goes there to be felicitated in the 350th year, he realizes that, he discovers that the runology professor is suddenly murdered, and there's a trail left in the rune stones. So what I did was try to bring in, the history of Lund University and this whole Nordic, Norse mythology along with runology as a part of the trail. So that was in 2018. That was the second book. The third book. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is a book which has just been released. It's called Legend of the Snow Queen. It takes place in Lake Starnberg near Munich. It's about 25 kilometers from Munich in Germany. And so this has a very, how should I say, a very, very historical background, because there are two main important historical figures in this. And that is King Ludwig II, who was also called the Mad King because he built these beautiful castles around Germany, like Neuschwanstein and Linderhof. And literally, he was supposed to be a crazy person because he emptied the government coffers, and that is why they declared him as mad. He was captivated and kept in Lake Starnberg. So that's one side. The other side is his cousin Sissi, who is the Empress of Austria, who was very close to King Ludwig II, was a little unhappy in her marriage because she was a free bird, loved poetry, loved traveling and all, and felt stifled in her royal role. And she used to come to Lake Starnberg, which was her childhood place, for 24 summers. And she stayed at a hotel called Kaiserin Elizabeth Hotel. So this story, Legend of the Snow Queen, takes these characters and builds a thriller around it. So that's the third book. And the fourth book, which I'm writing right now, the next slide, please, is based in northern Portugal. It's called tentatively Mystery of the Portugal Hearts, and which takes place all over northern Portugal, but I won't reveal too much because the book has to come out yet. So while we understand this, I just want to explain what, we know that thrillers are basically fast-paced books. They take you probably all over the place, or they could happen in a small city. They're very fast-paced. There are multiple characters, and they're heart-pumping thrillers, which kind of really rouse your excitement. But how are destination thrillers different from normal thrillers? So I would just like to explain that. Slide, please. Yes, so like I explained, that destinations in a destination thriller, destinations are used like characters. They're not just backdrops. They take the story forward. So in the first image, you can see that Schloss Leopoldskron, surrounded by the lake, for the Trail of 4. The picture in the center is the hotel where Sissi lived for 24 summers. And the third picture is the Lund Cathedral, which is where, all the academicians are felicitated. It has its own history and an amazing place. So they are not mere backdrops. They just take the story forward. Second slide, next slide. Yes, so a destination thriller, the ones that I write, are based on an incident in history or characters that come from history into the contemporary plot. So it's not a historical novel. I do not take people into history. I bring history into the contemporary plot. And so the character dynamics are embedded in the destination. So in the center, you see that's Sissi on horseback, Empress of Austria. And in the first picture, you see Max Reinhardt, who after Leopold Firmian passed away, the Schloss Leopoldstraße fell into almost into ruins. And much later, just before the First World War, Max Reinhardt, who's a Jewish American director, bought the place and turned it into a kind of a theater place, completely renovated it. And that's where the Salzburg Music Festival began. So these are historical figures, these are historical references, and they all come into the contemporary plot. Next slide, please. So the clues, so it's not just, the characters, the clues, the scenes, all the thrills and the mystery are embedded within the destination and are expressed through the culture, history, landscapes, and beauty of the country. So for example, if you can see on the left, the first picture on the left is the library of the Schloss Leopoldstraße, where the climax happens. Now, this library was modeled along the lines of the St. Gallen's Library in Switzerland. And there are frescoes all over the ceiling and on the walls, and there are cherubs, and there's also a secret door. So, so there are clues in this library which are actually a part of the Trail of Four. So that's important. Then you can see the rune language, which I have particularly shown here, that these are rune alphabets. And they are the ones on the rune stones everywhere, or actually even I'm wearing one right now. Even if you don't see it, I wear the rune language too. So they mean something, and they're used in rune divination. So rune stones are used to predict the future. So there are many, the connotations and permutations to the use of rune language. Then you can see below is the Lund Cathedral, like I said, or on the right, the picture is of the Krampus, which is an Austrian, how should I say, it's a tradition where all of them wear this horrible stuff, and they trail around the city and scaring people, but actually it's a tradition in Austria. So, I've tried to use all these, bring forth things that we don't normally know in India. We don't normally know the culture of other place. And I've tried to put it all into some kind of a story and a thrilling story. Next slide, please. Yeah, okay, so no, we can stop here while I just would like to, now before this, I would like to first show the teaser of the Snow Queen, Legend of the Snow Queen, before we come to this visual. So I've basically explained what a destination thriller is, but I would love to share a teaser of Legend of the Snow Queen for you to get an idea of what a book looks like. Okay, yes. Thank you. So you can see that, in the trailer itself, you can see that I have used all these beautiful images of Bavaria, Christmas, and you can see that against this backdrop is a haunting love story also, and Empress of Austria, and the castles and everything comes together, thrilling how should I say, it all comes together in a thrilling chase to the finale. So there's this breathlessness to the whole thing. And what I'm trying to do is encourage people to read the book, encourage them to understand, Sissy and her background and Bavaria and what they have to offer. So that is what I really mean when I say that, these are cultural diplomats, because I'm going beyond my comfort level, my comfort zone, stepping out of my country and going into another country to bring them closer to us. And that is why I called it Converse Cultural Diplomacy. So before we go to the next slide, I would just like to explain what these books actually set out to do. Okay, so just a minute, I will just go to my slide number. Yeah. So I mean, we all know that art plays a big role in cultural diplomacy, and so that too, and you've done so much yourself. So it's basically like the Wikipedia definition says that it's an exchange of ideas and information and art and language and other aspects of culture among nations. And I feel that is exactly what I have also tried to do. But specifically, what are the advantages and goals of the destination thrillers as cultural diplomats? So I just want to say one thing. Now, in the trailer 4, we do see a bit of history of Max Reinhardt, and we see, Leopold Fermion, and I'm trying to bring that forward. Or like I said, in Snow Queen, we see a lot about Sissy and King Ludwig II and how all that happened. So historical glimpses are what we get, and what the common man, because see, normally sitting in India and knowing about India, I would not know so much about their historical figures. So somewhere you do get a glimpse into their historical, their history and a bit of their mystery too. Because, for example, we don't know what happened to King Ludwig II and how he really died. But they say he died by drowning, but we really don't know. So it kind of piques your interest. You want to know more. Then the other thing that these destination thrillers do is they propagate themes of peace and harmony. So through all the 4 books, I've tried to promote ideas and themes of democratic values and expression of thought and coexistence. So for example, in the trailer 4, there's a peace conference which is going to happen in the book, and the entire effort of the mystery is to disrupt that peace conference, and Ray's entire effort is to make sure it happens. For example, in Snow Queen, like we saw in the teaser, there is a 5-country peace treaty happening, and so the mascots of that treaty are 2, how should I call them? They're two, what are they? They're 2 swans, but they're like in the shape of a heart, and they are stolen. Okay, just before the treaty is going to be signed on the 180th birth anniversary of the Queen of Austria, of the Empress of Austria, which is exactly on 25th December. So, and in that place is left a note which says, find the soul song, okay, left by Sissy, or the treaty will be disrupted. Now, nobody knows what the soul song is, and Sissy has been dead for 100 years. So how is it even possible? So then you get, to bring all this history into the contemporary plot. And finally, of course, the 5-country treaty is going to be signed, and everything is going to be resolved. But through all of this, I'm insisting on the message of love, peace, harmony between countries. That's really my message here. Although I put it in a thriller, and although there are lots of hurdles to it, but I'm still trying to put this message across that there needs to be love and peace in the world. So I think that's what these destination thrillers do. And I'd like the next slide, please, now. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Yeah. So, this is something that I have experienced myself, and some of the advantages of these destination thrillers are the bilateral cultural representation, that has led to shared interests and collaborations. And it has also prompted international exchange, constructive dialogue of thoughts at conferences and lit fests. So I'll start with some examples. For example, on the left, you see the Austrian embassy loved the trailer for so much, and my representation of the Schloss in Salzburg, they launched the book in the embassy itself. And I thought that was very nice. They invited a lot of people. It was a lovely event. Other than that, the Austrian tourism did road shows. So the picture in the center you see below right in the center, is where the Austrian tourism, they bought lots of books and they gave it out on their road shows and, made me sign the copies, and they made a big thing about it so basically it helped the tourism of their country. And I'll tell you how. If you see the picture above it, that's of the panorama tours. I think everybody knows the panorama tours in Salzburg. They are one of the famous tours which take you around on the Sound of Music tour. Now, as soon as this book came out, can we just remove the slide because I want to read something? Yeah, as soon as the book came out, the panorama tours made a poster which went out for their publicity, which said, "On the trail of four, the famous panorama tours from Austria welcomes the trail of four into its alluring world of sightseeing and pitches it along with the iconic Sound of Music. And the journey begins." That was their poster. And at the bottom, they say, "Stay 2 nights at the Schloss Leopoldskron, setting of the Trail of Four mystery, and enjoy your trip to Salzburg." So I feel, this is where you instantly understand how the town, how the country can use these books to attract more tourists and enhance the tourist experience. And therefore, it's also good for the economy of the country. So, so the destination thrillers have a larger role than even I had envisioned, and I felt that was really good. Also, when I was writing these books, what happened was that the Portugal tourism, connected with me, and they said, we've looked at your books, and we feel, why don't you base a thriller in northern Portugal? And so then they hosted me there, and they took me around to the entire north, and now I'm writing a book based on the places they showed me. And the collaboration is so fantastic because you're excited about it. I'm excited about it because I get to represent in a very different way a country which has something to offer in terms of tourism and history and so much more. So that kind of a collaboration also happens in terms of inviting the rest of the world to see the country. And finally, the Salzburg Global Seminar, who actually owns the Schloss Leopoldskron and is an organization which actually works for world peace. They collaborated with the Pune International Literary Festival, which I do. And for the last 7 years, they've been sending their fellows, they've been coming and being a part of my festival and talking about global issues. So if you can imagine the scope of what these destination thrillers can do, they're connecting people, they're connecting countries, they're connecting ideologies. And I feel that is something really brilliant. The last slide, slide number 12, please. And this is something that I would like to share is just to, okay. Right, that's this one. So some of the advantages, one of the advantages and goals and my personally fantastic experiences where destination thrillers not only bridge the gap between the cultures of different countries, but they also create an experience of shared cultures and rising brotherhood and sisterhood. And these pictures that you see are of the launch of the Trail of Four at the Schloss Leopoldskron. And there's a very interesting story to it. If you just see the picture at the bottom where all of them are showing pictures, holding the book, they're all dressed in Indian clothes. Okay, so yeah, you can remove the slide now. I have to narrate the story that the book is in English, okay, Trail of Four, based in the Schloss Leopoldskron, but they wanted to launch it at the palace. But all the people there were German. So they wondered, how do we launch an English book based in Austria, but in Germany, in Austria? And they all got together and they thought, and finally they came up with a very brilliant idea, which I feel is something that comes out of this culmination of shared brotherhood and sisterhood. They made it an India night, and they invited about 150 expats who were living in Salzburg, and they all wore Indian clothes and they've had Indian food. And just because an Indian author was representing their country they represented me at the launch. And I think this was such a beautiful synergy. Even talking right now is giving me goosebumps. Yes, because what better way of bonding than something like this, and it was a brilliant evening. They made sure that everyone was happy. Everyone got a copy of the book. They spoke about India. They spoke about Austria and Germany, Austria and Salzburg. And I felt that this was really the most perfect example of what destination thrillers can do. It brings people together, it bonds people. And finally, I think that was the last slide. And I just want to say that from my side, that by writing these destination thrillers, I not only get to understand their culture and history and everything, but I get to reintroduce their country or reintroduce their town in a very exciting new light. And I highlight the good points. And because I don't want to write about the underbelly of any country, that's not the point in this. The point is to show the countries, the towns in a beautiful light and encourage curiosity, travel, tourism, collaborations, and friendships. And that is why I feel that these are cultural diplomats. And finally, I just want to say what George Bernard Shaw said, who obviously one of the most prolific playwrights and authors of Ireland, said, life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. And I feel that through this Destination Thriller series, I have realized that I've set out to create a different world, a global world, like Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, because I think we all come together and we have the same dislikes and likes and the same love, same bonding, same ideas of romance. And, I feel that these destination thrillers, seriously, I mean, not just destination thrillers, everything that we do for each other really bring us all together. And that is why I call this Converse Cultural Diplomats. I hope I can do the same in Ireland. And I would love to collaborate and do something beautiful there. So that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Manjiri ji. It was very fascinating presentation, and also your talent was visible, both in terms of how you presented and also your teaser was really exciting.
Thank you.
And you spoke about cultural diplomacy. I think I'm reminded of like you are doing truly outstanding work because the Indian ethos of cultural engagement is not just promotion of Indian culture.
That's right.
Not just not export of Indian culture or trying to influence, trying to dominate our culture or others. Yes. But you also notice that we use term cultural exchange or cultural relations.
That's
the
right.
whole idea is to share and learn and mutually enrich each other.
That's right.
Not getting into value judgment.
That's right. That's right.
And recognition.
We need to. Yes, we need to appreciate what others have, and others should appreciate what we have.
Absolutely. Yes. And the world is so diverse, incredibly diverse. And as a country which is so diverse itself, we cherish the diversity and the differences. Yes. But also philosophically, we know that beneath all those differences and diversities, there is underlying thread of unity.
That's right. We are all the same, actually.
Absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely. And I realized that when I was writing and how people were excited when I came there, or, the kind of collaboration, the cooperation that I received. I mean, it was so beautiful. This Destination Thriller series has made me realize that the world is really a very, very small place. Actually, we're all connected in many ways. Yes.
Yes. And also our Prime Minister has been reminding us about Rajduts, that he has given us an idea of a Rashtradut.
Yes. Yes.
Rashtradut is a greater privilege and pride for everyone, every Indian or Indian origin person.
Absolutely. Yes.
So as an Indian, you are doing a phenomenal work of engaging and promoting Indian values and connecting with people in many countries, spreading friendship and warmth for India. And in India's ambassador, I do appreciate and recognize your contribution. And I do hope that we have opportunity of welcoming you in Ireland. And
I hope so too.
Using your tremendous energy for building friendship between our two countries.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. I really appreciate being here and for recognizing what I'm doing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Really admire. And your role as an icon, I don't know any other thriller writer in India. Very good. Destination thriller, I think yours is a very unique innovation.
Yes, yes,
At least from the Indian perspective, it's very new.
Yes, yes. And the fact is that, I mean, just not a background, but as a character, really
Yes.
helps people understand that we are so, how should I say, we may appear different, but really deep down
Yeah.
within, we are just the same. And we need to appreciate what we have, and we have to overcome our differences, because honestly, the world only needs love and compassion and appreciation, and that's about it, to live peacefully.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks, Emaji.
Thank you, Hemaji.
Thank you.